Unsyndicated presents Off the Board, the weekly gambling show. Hosted by Majchrzak and Mike Iavasile.
Welcome. This is a big week of Off the Board. Big week. It's a get back week, a get right week, another great slate of college football. And we are here. I'm Majchrzak. He's Mike Iavasile. We got so many picks. We got picks coming out of all of our ear holes, our eye holes, our nose, everywhere. We got picks. And I'm so excited for all of them.
I love it. Look, Blake, we were just talking off the air. You ended up all right. I did not end up all right. When the public has a good week like they had last week, I usually get beaten down. But you know what? Not only am I back, but I'm back and firing. I put up a bunch of bets. I am ready to put them out there.
So are we, and I know you're not changing strategy. You are just gonna keep it rolling. And that's what I love about you. You have a strategy and you are sticking to it. And I love and respect that about you, because I'm the type of person, the type of gambler I am. Like, after a couple weeks, I just dead teams that I probably shouldn't. And that's what happens to me. But there's a couple of games this week that are going to be, I'll be watching very closely to decide if it's a team I'm going to keep rolling with. One of them is a game we're going to be talking, like Tennessee. I think I talked about it last week. Yep. I'm still riding a little bit with Tennessee. I can't quit them.
I like it, and there's a big ball game this week, right? Alabama's rolling into town. They're struggling on defense, so I get it. Like, you've got to keep an eye on them. Your boy's falling down the Heisman board, as we've said. He's a young kid, but he's a gunslinger, so he's going to be all right. But there's going to be weeks like that, right? No, I am rolling. I started out this week, Blake. I looked at some stuff. I'm not going to lie. I was shaking a little bit. I'm like, do I? And I'm like, no. And I sent you some picks that I was looking at, and if they didn't move, I would have been on some ugly dogs. And you can't waver from the way you do it.
Yep. And this week, I feel like the NFL slate is matching up. We have a great NFL. Like, I had a hard time picking 5 NFL games, like, especially with the 2 Monday night games and everything. It's a great NFL slate this week. You know, you got the World Series coming up soon. You got those championship series, and then there's college football literally every day of the week right now. It's just it's great.
Yep.
It's great. We're in the best time of the year.
This is a great NHL hockey has started. There's nothing that you can't watch at any time. Hey, I got Lindsey Muskie's hockey on right now. What can we say?
Line brawls and all.
Going. Line brawls and all. Craziest thing. But you were saying, like, last week, if you remember, in the NFL, I couldn't find a side. I was almost all overs and unders. This week it was all side. It started to fall back. And last week, I think we were talking about how many home dogs there were. This week, all the injuries and the uncertainties, but everything kind of fell into place. I think we're going to have some stuff to fire on. I hope people are watching, because, Blake, I was running my numbers, and if you have been look, I know you've been on fire. We've talked about you, but if you're tailing me, you're up almost 6 units. You can't argue that. You can't argue. I'm up 6 units right now. I'm looking pretty good. And that's with get my butt kicked last week.
Hey, that's great, because I'm not up. I am up. My picks. You know, it's been a little up and down, but we're getting right. I think. Like we talked about before, it's crazy. My NFL picks are doing great. It's my college ones that I still am, like, feeling things out. I wonder if it's just all this conference realignment and all the travel that these teams are doing. I can't get as good of a read as I normally would on these college spreads. I just can't.
Yeah, and right now I know the difficulty on my part with the way I do it with following the smart money and getting the splits and doing so. as the year goes along, the pros almost become in line with the sports books, and my margin gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So if you remember just a couple of weeks ago, I was telling you, oh my God, I'm on 30 games. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm nowhere near that right now. But the 14 or 15 that I'm looking at, I usually end up on because of the way they're going. But how about some of this uncertainty right now? There's been some huge line movement, if you've seen, because of be it injuries, the unknown injuries. And the one thing I've been hearing a lot about this week is team morale, especially in the NFL. Are you going to play this quarterback? Are you going to play that quarterback? And bringing guys in. How much do you put into team morale and, losing a locker room, let's say?
Especially in college, I put a lot into it because there's teams that go on, like, I hear people call it quit watch. You just see if these, especially in defensive players, are putting in effort at all. Because in the college game, it's very obvious. In the NFL, like, yes, there can be like frustration in the locker room and everything, and guys might not be giving it their all, but there's still some guys that are because they're paid professional athletes. But in college, like, teams will just quit on coaches completely. And I mean, there's definitely some games I was looking at this week. Like, do I think this team has quit for the season?
Yeah.
And, we see it in, especially in those smaller conferences like the Sun Belt and the MAC and the Mountain West. Like, there's teams that'll just quit. So,
yeah, it was very interesting because I've never really put much into it. You hear a lot about it. And then I was listening to Rich Gannon talk. And he was talking about back in 1997 when he was on the Kansas City Chiefs. Elvis Grbac, Michigan boy, at that time was the starting quarterback and got hurt. Rich Gannon comes in, leads them onto a run into the playoffs, right? They get into the playoffs. They have a first week bye, and they decide that since Grbac is healthy, he didn't lose his starting job. So the coaches decide to put him in. He said it defeated that team so bad. They ended up losing to the Denver Broncos that game and got upset. And he goes, team morale and losing a team is a real thing, even in the NFL. And that was kind of an eye-opener to me because you're looking at a lot of these line movements and these teams. Do I take a big chance on Cleveland, who Stefanski keeps telling us that Watson is this starting quarterback? They said these locker rooms are destroyed, and it's a real thing that you got to keep an eye out. And another one we got to keep an eye out. We're going to talk about it on the show, and I know I've got it in my account, is this Pittsburgh Steelers New York Jets game.
Yeah. No, and in Vegas too. Vegas obviously trading Devontae, and now he's suddenly healthy. Weird how that works out.
Isn't that crazy? That hamstrings healed better in New York, from what I'm told.
I guess it must be something with the, because of all the dry heat out there or something. I don't know. So you want to review last week real quick before we get into this week?
Let's go through it. See what we got.
All right. So college football, it wasn't, you know what? I went 3-4. I will, is it great? No, but I'll take it. It's not terrible. Penn State, that game literally right down to the wire. And the fact that they even came back and won that game was incredible. So,
yes,
but you were 100% on the right side of that. Like, no argument for me there.
Yep.
I don't know how much you watched of Red River. That game was never in doubt. Texas controlled that game right from the start, and I knew that the over was dead very early because there was no way Oklahoma was going to score.
Yeah, I was living that game through you, and from what you were telling me, they were just choking them out. And again, that was another right side that Texas wasn't going to let them score. That game was going under. It didn't matter.
Nope. And then obviously that Tennessee-Florida game was disgusting. It was so ugly. And the fact that you hit an under and it went into overtime and it wasn't even close.
How crazy is that? It was never in jeopardy. Overtime is where unders go to die, and that one was not going to die. It just didn't matter.
It could have gone into double OT legitimately, and you still would have won. Like, that game was so bad.
It was crazy.
LSU did not lead at any point until the final play of overtime. So that was great. That was a great feeling for me to win that. And that game was fantastic. Trying to balance watching LSU and Ole Miss while watching Oregon, Ohio State at the same time was so difficult. But I like those are the Saturday nights that I live for, like trying to watch all of this action going on. Like those were two fantastic games.
Yes, and the funny thing is they kept me awake. Those are games that I need to stay awake. I'm going to be honest. I didn't see the end of them, but I was watching wholeheartedly on all of them. I lost the under in that Oregon Ohio State game, and that was one of the few on our show bets that I was on the wrong side. I'll fully admit at no point was I on the right side of that one, but that game kind of shows you where I was last week on my bets, where Blake, I had 3, I think, unders where single teams in those games outscored the under and went over themselves. Like that's how off I was on my bets last week.
I was trying to look it up and I can't find it. I saw a stat earlier this week about top 5 matchups and how often they go over, which that is kind of a tease for this week with me. They go over pretty consistently. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I can't remember the exact stat, and I was trying to look it up, but they go over pretty consistently. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Little tickler file, especially when we have a top 5 matchup between Georgia and Texas this weekend. So,
and you just have to go to my account and look at how many times I've taken Alabama, Georgia, a top 5 matchup, usually every year, be it the SEC championship. And I take under every time. Of course, you know me, I'm going under, and I don't think that's ever hit. So no. I know exactly what you're talking about.
This is a matchup you've been looking forward to all season since the first show we did.
I didn't even know it was happening. It's finally here. I can't believe that they listened to me and just threw this game out of nowhere.
They just scheduled it out of nowhere. It was incredible.
Hey, I heard this guy on this Off the Board podcast. He asked for this game. Let's just put it right now. Let's go.
Throw it together. You know, that happened during COVID when BYU played. I think BYU played Coastal. They because of like everyone's schedules being so wonky during COVID.
Yeah.
Like BYU had a game canceled and Coastal like didn't have a game. So they just scheduled it with 6 days notice. And that was BYU's only loss. Yeah. And that was BYU's only loss that season. Yeah. Great. That was Grayson McCall's coming out party. And now he stinks.
That should have been Zach Wilson's going away party.
No, and then he was a top 5 pick.
Yeah, absolutely, with a hot mouth.
Yeah. Well, now, and you know his brother is the starter at Utah now. He's younger brother at Utah. Yeah, because Cam Rising's done for the year.
Cam Rising's going to have another year, right? He's going to get another.
He does have an 8th year of eligibility. Yes, he does. But they have to move on. They have to.
Yes, they have to.
But it's Zach Wilson's little brother is the starter at Utah now for the rest of the
amazing
season. And he's so bad.
Good for him. Good for her.
He's so bad. All right, NFL.
All right, I like to know
NFL.
That.
Yeah, no, just things to keep in the back of your head. Your tickler file. NFL, I killed it. Besides, Arizona was never even close. That can't.
No,
we both killed it. Look at us.
But you Arizona was never in that game. But to show you, if I could hold up the paper from last week by throwing them in the garbage after I take my notes, is I had that marked a loss. I mean, I don't know how that game came under. I mean, I think the final was 34-13.
Yeah.
Or something. I mean, something stupid. I mean, it fell right on 40. I'm like, I don't understand how that. And they had missed field goals. That was supposed to be a win game. Whatever. I don't know.
No. And then
No.
Detroit, obviously, that was a shit stomping. And then that Sunday night football game might have been one of the worst football games I've ever sat through. And I watched a majority of it, and it was so bad.
Oof. Woof. You watched the majority of it. So I bet you I watched half the first quarter. I knew right where that game was going. I knew that was over. And I needed the Buffalo the next night. So I ended up all right. But and I think that's actually got to be a loss there. It says under 40, it went over.
Yeah.
But once that Cincinnati game was probably about halfway through the first quarter, I knew that one was done, and I went to bed. I didn't watch that. Same with that Buffalo and the Jets game. That was just god awful. But that Buffalo and Jets game gets into, we always talk about bad beats. And I'm going to be honest. I think I was on the wrong side for a majority of my bets, even some of them that won last week. But I lost the game earlier in the year. You heard me complain about it on an onside kick. And that onside kick, a chance of that happening is 3%. All right. That's a bad beat when you lose on something like that.
Yeah.
I lost that over because of that end of that first half, Aaron Rodgers, Hail Mary. That's what sent that game over. That's an 8% chance of that happening.
Yeah.
So,
well, with Aaron Rodgers, is it an 8%?
Right. But I'm just saying that game should have been way, 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 way over. I will admit I was on the wrong side, but when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, wow, that was close. Oh, yeah, of course there was a Hail Mary. Like, I just knew it. Like, whatever. And last week was a dead week.
I'm looking at my other picks from last week. UMass first quarter did not work out for me in college at all. They were down 14-0 basically. Like, that game kicked off and they were down 14-0. And then Washington, Iowa, I had under 42.5, and Iowa scored 40 on their own. So that was not great.
Yeah.
And then the Illinois Purdue, like, Illinois just, I don't know what happened in that game. And we're going to talk about Illinois in a couple minutes here.
That game was drunk at the end of it.
But then my other picks, I did good. Pitt -3.5 had that. Kansas State -3.5 at Colorado. That game was great. That game was also going on during the night slate. Boise State was a push at Hawaii -21. My other NFL picks did well. Bears -1.5. Saints Bucks over. Like, the only ones I didn't hit were the Steelers Raiders and the Chargers Broncos. I had both those unders, and those went barely over. So, and I would probably fire on those again. So
that's good. That's great. You did good. I didn't have a good week. I tend to throw my stuff away once the week is done, but I will fully admit what I have in my notes from last week was I had a bad week. I was on the wrong side of a lot of things, but when you look at it, it's something we've talked about. You've said it many times on the show, Blake. Eventually the favorites are going to turn it around. Yep. Favorites are favorites for a reason, and they're going to win. This happens, right? It's going to happen, but guess what? I'm coming back, and I'm taking more freaking dogs. I just don't care. I'm going to keep to my system, but last week was a tough one. I mean, when it happens, it happens. You can't have a week like that and actually get upset about it if you're going to continuously gamble. It happens. So overall, I ended up 6-8. That's not awful. I mean, a Monday night and a Sunday night, a little bit of a turnaround. That's why I was telling you, Sunday night, Monday night, I might end up. No, I'm not. But hey, I'm back. Yeah. Favorites are favorites for a reason, and they're going to bite us in the butt sometimes.
That's the best part about this, Mike. There's another week. We just move on. We wash it away. So, Todd, if you could bring up the results real quick. We're going to look at these results for the season. I'm 41-48. We're getting closer to 500. You're still above 500. And guess what? We're going to wash it away, and we're going to move on because we have a great slate this week. And that's what we need. We just need football. That's all we need.
Every week is a good slate. You wipe it clean. And I walked into my office. I told you, I get to work early every Monday, every day. But this Monday, I walked in and I was just laughing, looking at stuff, and I'm like, here we go. And I just started writing numbers down, and some of them were ugly. I've got a couple ugly bets. I was very close to a couple other ones, but I've got a couple ugly ones. I've got a bet that is in my account, Blake, and you're going to have to make it make sense to me when we get to that portion of when we're talking about. I still don't understand this game. I don't understand this line. It is ugly, and I'm going to have a blast watching it from Oakville, Ontario. But if I can real quick go on a little bit of a little bender here that I was talking about as the year goes along and lines get tighter, and me and you just talked about it gets harder to find your team, or I find it harder to find numbers to get on. There's things that you can do. Do you tease any? Do you do any teasers?
I haven't dabbled yet. I do the parlays. I do some same game, mostly in the NFL, but the teasers, like the first 2 years of my gambling life, I didn't understand them. Now I understand them, but I still haven't dabbled too far into them.
All right, so I want to throw these out there to the people. And there's this guy, his name, great name, Stanford Wong. What a name, right? Stanford Wong. How can this guy not make money? But he came up with a teaser strategy. And basically, it's 2-team 6-point teasers. And when lines get tight, and you'll hear it on the show, if I can't find something, I start taking teasers. And this was the reason I'm bringing it up is this is the first week that I was actually thinking about it. I was looking at a couple of them. So per Mr. Stanford Wong, you only play favorites between 8.5 and 7.5 because you're going to drop them down below what? The 7 and the 3. That's the key point.
Yeah.
You can between 8.5 and 7.5. So you bring them down there, or you look at dogs between 1.5 and 2.5. You bring them up over the 3 and over the 7. So that was his, and it was highly profitable. It actually set the standard in teases to where sports books had to respond and mess with their lines and their juice when you did it.
Yeah.
Lately, so as we go on now, there's a couple things that I read about that people are doing, and there's only one that I follow. Some people will only do home teams.
Okay.
Now, with that, some people only do visiting teams, and the stat that goes with the visiting teams is when you do the visiting team, now that the home field advantage points are dropping, you actually get an increase of about 2.5 to 3% in winning when you're using the visiting teams. But the big thing is only do it if the total is below 49. You get that lower total, and when you mess with it, the games are tending to be a little bit tighter when you move that. But it was something that I looked at it. I started doing them this morning, and I'm like, do I? And it's too early for me to start doing them, but I will at some point do them. But I think if people are listening and they're having trouble, like, do I like this team getting a point, or do I like the big favorite at 7.5? You throw this teaser in there and you move these lines 6 points. And if you go to DraftKings, Blake, minus 120 on 2-team 6-point teasers. That's not bad at all.
No, not at all. Yeah.
And MGM is minus 130, but it's something to think about as the year goes along and more data gets out there, and the sports books are getting tighter and tighter with their lines.
Yeah. No, I mean, there was a college game I was looking at. Now I can't remember it off the top of my head. Oh, it was this South Carolina Oklahoma game. Depending on the book, that line, at some books, South Carolina is getting 1.5. At other books, Oklahoma is getting 1.5. So using that, what you're saying though, if I can get that all the way to over a field goal, that's huge benefit because they're telling you that's going to be a field goal game. Yes,
and they don't know where it's going. I think I counted no less than 8 to 10 games where you didn't know where that line was going. 1 second it's over here, the next second it's over here. I literally watched the Arizona State Cincinnati game. It was at 2.5, and I was doing my numbers, and I'm like, oh, this one, the numbers kind of look right. So I always kind of fact check some things. I came back. By the time I got back, that 2.5 was a 5.
Yeah, so
The
someone
Arizona
hammered
State
it, yeah.
I think the Arizona State quarterback ended up going out. Like all week, it's been injuries. There's a couple of games we're going to talk about on show bets. There's obviously one that I've taken in my account and on show bets that are doing the same thing. You just got to be careful. Make sure you have all the facts before you place your bets. And then you don't even know if you have all the facts, and you just might get hosed in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, like Utah. Those damn Utes.
But that is the perfect example. And
yeah.
I, again, driving into work and driving home from work, I listen to these podcasts. It's all gambling. And I can't tell you a single podcast that hasn't complained about Cam Rising. And is he playing? Is he not playing? Last second, he's dressing. No, he's not. What's going on? They're like, we're putting money on this. You have to let us know. And it's great. But I think that's becoming more of the trend than anything. Like, you don't know.
Well, and that's why some leagues are doing like mandatory reports like the NFL does. Some college football leagues are doing that just because of that reason, because they're in bed with these gambling companies, so they have to, like, or people are going to get frustrated and they're going to have questions, and those are answers that these books don't want to have to answer. You know what I mean? So I get it 100%.
And I'm trying to jump on right now and see if, just for the sake of what we're talking about, what the line in the London game is, because that was another one. I don't think Drake May was supposed to say anything, but he comes out and tells the world he has a knee injury.
Yeah, it's 6, 5.5 or 6, depending on the book.
Yeah, so that's barely nothing. And again, but that was another one. Like, no one, he was on the injury report, but who's not on an injury report at this point in the season? Then all of a sudden he comes out and he says, basically, I'm not supposed to say anything to you, but I've got a knee injury.
Yeah.
You know, so.
All right, you ready? Are you ready for this week's slate of college football?
I am ready for this week's slate. And do we want to throw some trends out there? Because these trends that I took, I put them, they're right into a lot of the games that we're talking about. You want to hear a couple?
I love it. Yeah, fire away.
All right. So we'll be talking about the Kansas City game. It's one of our NFL show bets, right?
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes, and I'm sure you know this. You know your Mahomes stuff. He's 13-0 against the spread as a road or neutral site dog. We're going to be talking about that game coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Another game that we're talking about, and me and you were talking about this right after the Devontae Adams trade. Mike Tomlin, he is 64% overall ATS, right? 74% against the spread as a home dog. Now, what's going to ruin that one, though? Is Russell Wilson playing or is he not playing?
I don't know. Does that affect Tomlin numbers? I don't know. Because they had to start. Who are they? Who's the big-headed quarterback that they started that got hit over the head with a helmet? And that didn't affect Tomlin numbers.
Mason Rudolph?
Yeah, there it is.
Now, Mason Rudolph is another one. They should be playing him in Tennessee and not Billy Blue Jeans because he's hurt.
Yeah.
Anyways, that is what Russell Wilson may or may not play a factor in that game, but he's going to get more points. Like, I jumped on that game at 2.5, which we'll be talking about. Russell Wilson ruins that bet. I think they get smoked if Russell Wilson's playing. I just don't like him. NCAA, there's one going on right now. This was one that me and you talked about. I was going to take if it got to 31. Purdue is 12-1 against the spread when they are a 20 point or more dog in Big Ten games. Yeah. We're watching that game right now. We'll see. I know Oregon was going in to make it 21-0 there in a second. Again, I think I've brought this one up the last 3 weeks, and I'll bring it up again. It's this ranked team versus ranked team. The home team, 67% against the spread, 59% against the spread, but 67% straight up. We're talking about this 3 of these games. Tennessee +3 against Bama. Illinois +3 against your Michigan Wolverines.
Mm-hmm.
In Texas, -3, between 3.5 and 4.5, depending on where the wind is blowing against Georgia. So these trends all go into what we're going to be talking about here in our show bet. So maybe I can, maybe I can't sway you a little bit. I think I went against all of them.
You're just going against you look up all these numbers, and then you're like,
I
I'm
just
just going
ended
to
up
ignore
against.
them all.
I just went against them. What are you doing? What are we doing? Patrick Mahomes, who?
Oh, yeah. He's really good at football. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, right.
All right, Todd, pull him up. Let's do it.
Here we go.
First game of the week is a battle in the Big Ten. A very surprising team. Nebraska at Indiana. Indiana is favored by 6.5. The over/under is 50.5. Okay. First of all, this Indiana team, like I said, they are the surprise. They have not been behind it at a single moment in any game this year. I don't know if you knew that. They have not been trailing.
I did not know that. I know that now.
They have not been trailing at all. I think they're one of 3 teams in college football. I think it's them. I want to say Army and maybe even Navy. It might be the 2 service academies, but I know that they have not been trailing at all at any point in a game this season. I still think this is by far the best team that they have played so far this season. I am going to take Nebraska plus the 6.5 on the road. I think the biggest thing for me is Nebraska's defensive line is getting healthy, and Indiana has not seen a defensive line like this. And games are won on the line of scrimmage. So I'm going to take the better defensive line, and I'm going to roll with Nebraska.
I like it. I like this game. So this is actually one that I also have in my pocket. So here we go with the mic. Public sees Indiana has been pumping in points. Blake, these guys have scored 77, 42, 52, 42, and 41 points in their games this year. They're just throwing the ball, pumping in points. Nebraska's not bad themselves. They've scored 28.5 points again. The public sees this and they're like, this is going to fly over, right? However, despite 70% of the bets and a majority of the money going on the over, this number continues to go down from 51.5 to 49.5. I was lucky enough. I got it at 51.5. I'm going to take this under at 50.5. And here's a sneaky little stat. This is the number 19 and number 12th ranked defenses in the country. Like everyone's looking at how many points they score. They're not too shabby on defense. I really like this. When I was doing the numbers for our show, I'm like, boom, I threw it in and I ended up getting it at 51.5. I love this under.
No, I like that a lot too. I agree. And especially, like I said, I think along both lines of scrimmage, I definitely think Nebraska has an advantage on defense. And Indiana's defense, like you said, they've been playing really well. So, and you're still playing against a freshman quarterback. So,
yes,
Raiola, as talented as he is, he's still a freshman. He's still gonna make some mistakes. So I don't hate that at all. I really don't. Next game is a big one in the ACC. Miami coming off of 2 just absolutely crazy games, and then they went on a bye last week. And then you got Louisville, who I was very high on early in the season. They've been kind of struggling lately. They are at home against Miami, and Miami is favored by 5. The over-under is 59.5. Mike, you can start us off on this one.
Well, Blake, there was a reason you liked this team early in the season. Everyone did. There was high hopes for this Louisville team. And this is what kind of ends up happening is that teams go the wrong way in the beginning of the season. People kind of cut them off and they start to get points. I mean, everyone, Blake, everyone, the pros and the Joes are throwing money at Miami. They're the 6th ranked team. Everybody loves them. They think that they're going to kill Louisville. They think this isn't enough points. However, this kind of line it's been right there. It's kind of steady, right? It jumped kind of quick. It should have went further with how much money. I think like 80% of the money is on them. However, the books are staying strong at this number of 5, and they need it. The books need this, the Louisville not only to cover, but probably to win outright to kill some parlays. I'm hoping this is the time for Cristobal to go Cristobal, Louisville to show up and be the team that you told me that they were going to be. I'm taking the 5 points, and I'm taking Louisville.
I am right there with you. I am also on Louisville in this game. I just think Miami's played in too many close games. They've had too many close calls over the last couple of weeks. I understand they're coming off of a bye, and Louisville's been kind of struggling. But this is just a weird spot for Miami. Yep. And I still think highly of this Louisville team. And you are 100% right. Cristobal eventually is going to Cristobal. He will screw up a game, late game issues, clock management, all that kind of stuff. He will do that. Does not matter how much talent is on the team. And oh my gosh, I just had a total brain fart. Cam Ward, that's who. Yep. I almost said Cam Rising. Cam Ward, he is a great player, do not get me wrong, but he also has some doy in him. He makes some boneheaded plays. And for how much football he's played, the fact that he still makes those types of plays is crazy to me. But I like Louisville in this spot, especially at 5. If I were to take Miami, kind of what you were saying, if I was going to take Miami, I would take them on like an alt line. I would take them at like -9.5, get some really good odds, something like that. But at this spread, I will just ride with Louisville, 100%.
You're gonna take the home dog. It's a stinker. These numbers do not match up to anything. I think there's some smart money on Miami, but when I see a line just come to a screeching halt and not move, no matter how much money's pouring in, that's telling me the books are saying this is the line, this is where it's at. We're liking Louisville at anything. We're going to need them. But the Cam Ward point is a great point, and this is where I think Cristobal can go Cristobal. They want him to get the Heisman so stinking bad that they are going to go dumb. They're going to have – this is a shining moment for him. Louisville's fallen off a little bit, but people are going to be watching this game. They're going to have him just force the ball out there, show him what he's going to do. This is a game where I think they could get dumb and Louisville can get not only cover, but I think Louisville can win this game.
Well, and it's basically you're putting him in basically a standalone spot at noon on national television.
Yep.
So that logic 100% works out, because obviously the Nebraska-Indiana, that's a good game, but you're talking about a top 10 team playing on ABC. Like there's going to be eyeballs on that game. It's not because the 3:30 slate on, there's a lot of really good games. Yeah. Noon is kind of light. I know we got 2 games here from it, but
this is the noon game. Like I told you, I'm going to be in Oakville, Ontario. I'm going to have this game on. I think the restaurant we're at's called Beer Town. What a name, Beer Town or something like that. I'm going to be watching this game, and I will be on. I'm sure I'll be lighting your phone up as Louisville is marching all over them, or the opposite.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about it. Michigan at Illinois. Illinois is wearing the ugliest uniforms I've ever seen in my entire life. Did you see these things?
I have not seen these.
Mike, do me a favor while I'm talking about this game. Look up these uniforms.
All right.
And if you go on Twitter and just search Illinois uniforms, you will see them almost instantly. Michigan is favored by 3.5. The over-under is 43.5. Jack Tuttle starting at quarterback for Michigan. This is a crazy, like Champagne. You never know what you're going to get, if the crowd's going to be raucous or it's going to be sleepy. Everything. It's a 3:30 kick, nationally televised game on CBS. I have to see Michigan before I can make a decision on what I'm going to do with them for the rest of the season. Did you see the uniforms?
Is it the one that looks like the fantastic
leather helmet?
Rock's head?
Yeah.
It looks like the Fantastic Four. It looks like the Rock. What are we doing here?
So the uniform is a tribute to when they had Red Grange. Illinois had Red Grange, who was a Heisman Trophy winner at Illinois, and one of his best games of his entire career in that season was against Michigan. So they are wearing these Red Grange style throwbacks in honor of him against Michigan. So that's the theme behind it. But yeah, for people that haven't seen it, the helmet itself looks like a leather helmet. They like airbrushed a leather helmet on there, and then the jersey is just very ugly too. It's like I think there's like stripes on it, like vertical stripes.
It's from the bottom, like from the bottom up. That's just awful.
It's very ugly. But I'm just gonna roll with the under on this. Okay. I have to see what's going on with Michigan. I think a lot of people will be on the over because of what Illinois has done recently in games. But I still have a lot of faith in this Michigan defense. And if their offense can be competent, not good, just competent with Jack Tuttle and keep that defense off the field a little bit longer, I think that they can create some turnovers, get some stops, and make this an under game. And then we will see how I feel going forward about Michigan.
All right. I like it. This was a stinker of a game to look at. I was actually in the beginning of the week looking at taking this game, the exact opposite of what I'm going to end up taking for the show. So the public is looking at this. Michigan, Illinois. The public sees a higher ranked, better record home team in the Illini. They think that they should be favored. However, despite 67% of the bets and 66% of the money on Illinois, this line has moved from Michigan -1 to Michigan -3.5. The books like Michigan, so do I. Now, I have to put a warning out because of what I said in the beginning. I was looking at Illinois. Why was I looking at Illinois? When this line first came out, this was Michigan -3. Within 45 minutes, it dropped to 2.5. Blake, I've told you, I've told the show, I've told our fans, I take early money. Not only did that go to 2.5, within 24 hours, this line went to Illinois -1. So Illinois was the favorite for a little bit. And this is where I get off of games because when I'm looking at that and I wanted to take Illinois, dog the fave, I'm like, what's going on here? I think that was uncertainty about Michigan's health and not knowing who was at quarterback. So what do? They say Tuttle's going to be quarterback. Michigan looks like they're going to get healthy. That line came right back to where it was supposed to be and went up another half point against Michigan. That's why I'm going to take Michigan -3.5 in this game. I don't like it. I'm not saying I'm sure. It's not something that I would take, but I think this line is telling me smart money is saying we like Tuttle at quarterback. Michigan's going to be healthier than Illinois. Illinois also got some injuries that they've got to be worried about, right? So I think the smart money's telling us what's going to happen there. I like the smart money telling me that. I like the books taking a stand and saying we've got to get this line somewhere to where we stop taking Michigan money. So Michigan's mine on this one.
And if are we in the trust tree, Mike?
Go ahead.
Can I be honest with you? I didn't want to put it on my show record because I'm sick of losing games because of Michigan on this damn show. I will end up taking Michigan just because I like it's all I have in life. Yes. I will do it, but I can't keep putting it on this show. I can't keep taking a side and just losing games because of my fandom. I can't do it.
And I hate the hook. I wish I got it earlier at a 2.5 or even a 3, but that hook, it is what it is. I just think I liked for the short period of time when Michigan came out with Tuttle against Washington, it was a different team. It was crazy what was going on before that game got drunk. But
I've never had a roller coaster. I've never had a roller coaster of emotions like I did that night. Okay. I was texting you through that. And I was
Yep.
like, I went all the way back in at one point. I was all the way back in.
Mhm.
This team's going to make the playoff. And then I was
Yeah.
all the way back out. It was an incredible evening for me. And I can't keep doing it. All that matters is Michigan won the national championship, and I will live off of that forever. I'm happy, but I still want good, competent football, and Alex Orji could not deliver that for me. And I'm really hoping Jack Tuttle can. That's all I need.
Let's go, baby. I'm in.
All right. Tennessee and Alabama. This is a great rivalry in college football. If you're not familiar with it, it is
Yes.
one of the absolute best in the SEC. I enjoy this game every year. I will never forget when Tennessee beat Alabama 2 years ago, and it was the first time they beat them in like I want to say 9 years, something like that. And they took out the goalposts.
They put them in
put
the
them
river.
in the river. It was a fantastic moment. Bama is favored by 3 in this game this year. The over-under is 56.5. It's a very high number. Mike, why don't you start with your pick for this game?
It's a very high number. I like that. So the public's looking at this in my mind, and they see the high-flying Tennessee team, and they think Alabama's defense is done. I can't tell you how many shows I've listened to, and they're like, Alabama's defense is done. It's overrated. This is the worst defense they've had. They've given up 25, 40, and 34 points in the last 3 weeks. People think Tennessee could probably cover this number on their own if they get themselves right. However, despite 66% of the bets are going on the over, this line has never gotten to 57. It's been at 56.5. It dropped to 56, and it's moved a little bit back to 56.5. I've got the under in this game because of those numbers.
If I was betting a total, I would 100% be with you on that. I am going to do it again. I'm going to keep getting hurt by Tennessee. I just talked about it with Michigan. I am taking Tennessee plus the 3. Mainly for the reason, actually, that you just said about the defense. Alabama's secondary is horrible.
Okay.
They're very young. I shouldn't say they're horrible. They're incredibly talented. They're just young. They're starting a lot of freshmen. They had a lot of guys transfer out in the offseason. Tennessee, eventually, I feel like their offense has to figure it out. They have to get right eventually. And the thing with Tennessee's offense is when you're playing young secondary guys that get lost in coverage sometimes, this is not the offense you want to play. So if Nico can stop overthrowing guys this week, because that's been a huge problem for him, they will hit explosives on this Alabama defense. Tennessee's defense, I think, is legit. I think Milroe will still get his because he is an incredible player. But the thing that people aren't really talking about with Alabama, outside of Milroe, their run game stinks this year. Yes. They are a Jalen Milroe and that receiving core, and that is it. Their run game is not good. So with all that being said, I like Tennessee in this spot. Plus the 3. I'm getting a full field goal at home. Crazy environment at Rocky Top at night. All of that. Give me Tennessee. Play Rocky Top. Yeah, I need to load Rocky Top into this show because I love that damn
I think
song.
So. When I saw this game on our slate of show picks, I'm like, this is a Blake bet. I know where he's going with it. He's riding Tennessee. He's back on it. Let's go. Bama's down. Let's put them down.
And the thing is I for the first time in a few years, because last year I did not enjoy watching Alabama games. And then the couple years before that, I didn't either because they were so dominant. This Bama team is fun to watch because of Jalen Milroe and their receivers. But, man, that run game is so bad. And like I said, their secondary just lets dudes be WTF open. And Tennessee, you shouldn't do that against them. Last game, biggest game of the weekend, might be one of the biggest games of the season. I feel like we've been saying this for like 3 weeks in a row now. And that's the beauty of college football realignment. But, this being an SEC game now, Georgia going to Texas. Texas is favored by 4.5. The over-under is 56.5. I'm so excited to watch this football game. I think that, just to start it off, I think Texas is the best team in the country. I really do. Texas is so good on offense and defense. They're so well balanced. Everything. Georgia's been having some struggles lately, but I still think their defense is really, really good. I know that what happened in the Bama game, but still, I think that was more magic from Milroe and Williams.
Okay.
But I am rolling with Texas, and I'm also taking the over 56.5. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier with top 5 teams. These offenses in college football are ahead of defenses. And when you have 2 great offenses and 2 great quarterbacks, 2 guys that will probably be top 10 picks in the NFL, I love this over. I will roll with Texas probably until the end of the season. This Texas team is awesome. So that's where I'm at. Mike, what about you?
I like it. I mean, you talked earlier about the ranked overs, and you went there. This is our third in the line of ranked team on ranked team. I went against the trend with Michigan. You went with the trend with Tennessee. Where am I going to go? Look, this is a game that I can't believe they listened to me and they put this on the schedule this year. It is so awesome, and I want to thank them. Look, Blake, me and you could talk about this game. We could walk down the street and ask people about this game, and it's going to be 50-50. The pros and the Joes, the professionals and the public don't know who to take. It is split down the middle, 50-50. However, this line continues to creep. And where is it creeping? It's creeping towards Texas, right? I can't help but take that creep. They call it steam. Call me a steam chaser. I'm taking Texas in the 4.5 just because it's a 50-50 split. That line shouldn't move. It's gone from 3 to 3.5 to 4 to 4.5, wherever it is. After this game, we're going to know, is Texas the best team in the country? A lot of people are questioning that. We're also going to know, was that first half against Alabama a joke, or was the second half against Alabama what Georgia really is? We will know when this game is over. One of those things are true. One of those things are not. And I'm right there with you that I cannot wait for this game to kick off.
So, I've said it every week for the last 3 weeks. After, we had Georgia Bama. That was a fantastic game. And that game lived up to the hype. Okay. And then last week we had Ohio State, Oregon. That game 100% lived up to the hype. That game was incredible.
Yep.
And now we have this week, these college football games have really just been fantastic. So go ahead, Mike.
Real
Sorry.
quick. Real quick, because this, for whatever reason, this jumped into my head, is that I've been tracking Heisman crap. And the last time I looked, yours was 20-1. I don't know if he still is right now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out there and you're listening and you want to jump in and try to get some value ahead of the game on this, you take him right now at 20-1. If he wins this game, I am telling you.
Yeah.
Yes, I am telling you, he will not jump ahead of Genty unless he has an awful game, which it's just not going to happen. He will not probably jump against Hunter. He will be in the top 3 or 4 after this. He's going to go from 20-1 to 8-1. You're going to get value if you want to jump into that, and you think Texas is going to win this game. You probably have more value in grabbing that Heisman bet right now than you do betting the game.
Yeah. The only thing that worries me is the games missed, because I saw a stat. I'm trying to think who the last quarterback or last player was that missed multiple games to win the Heisman. I know that Daniels last year missed, I want to say, a half of a game. That's the part that worries me, is that he just missed those games. But But I get what you're saying 100%.
If he marches through this game, the rest of the season, the SEC championship, boom.
Well, and he didn't miss any big games. He missed games that they were going to win without him, obviously. He didn't miss the Michigan game. He didn't miss the Oklahoma game. He didn't miss the Georgia game. As long as he doesn't miss anything else, I 100% agree with you.
And you have to take a look at this. We just talked about this. Let's say Oregon ends up, they're up by 50 going into the fourth quarter. What's the difference of missing a game or them pulling the quarterback out because the game's up? You got to start weighing these things. I just think at a 20-1 price that it would be worth jumping on that bet. Can you bet
finalist? Is that an option?
I've never seen finalists. I've never seen finalists, but I have obviously only the winner of it. That's the only thing I've ever seen. But I will take a look and see if I can find that.
Okay. Let me just roll through these other college games real quick because we are, of course, you and I, shocker, we're going long. Clemson -20 against Virginia. Clemson is, I think, they're back. Klubnik at home. Okay. They're playing really, really well. I think Clemson might win the ACC. It's crazy.
You've turned into a Klubnik fan.
I've turned into a Clemson fan, especially at home. And I think people just look at how bad they looked against Georgia week 1 when they were starting 2 freshman receivers and Klubnik playing against the best defense he was going to face by far in the entire season. Looked bad. He did. But I think people haven't gotten that out of their head. Yeah. And this is a really good Clemson team, and they're getting better every single week. Game we talked about earlier real quick was that South Carolina-Oklahoma game. Like I said, that spread was all over the place. I put on my sheet the best number I could find, South Carolina +1.5 against Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma should be favored against anybody. They're not good. They can't score. I don't understand why they refuse to go back to Arnold. He must not want to play. He's if I had to guess, he's transferring out, and he just doesn't want to play unless it's an emergency situation so that he can get the redshirt year. That would be my bet on that. Cal -10.5 at home against NC State. NC State traveling all the way west, and I think NC State's really bad this year. And Cal has had fight in them in every game they've played. I know that their record isn't unblemished. The breakdown that they had against Miami and everything. I think Cal's a good football team, though. And I don't think NC State's a good football team, and they're traveling all those time zones. Georgia Tech +14 against Notre Dame. Notre Dame lost their best corner for the season this week.
Okay.
Notre Dame's injuries are crazy. I know Notre Dame's a good football team. I'm a Notre Dame hater. I really don't want them to make the playoff, especially with all these injuries. But I think Georgia Tech is good enough to cover the 2 touchdowns. USC -7.5 again at Maryland. USC is going to Maryland.
Yep.
Maryland's bad. Like Maryland's just bad. Okay. So, and I think this is a bounce back spot for USC.
So you're bucking that trend. You're bucking that Big Ten travel trend, eh?
But it's more East Coast teams going west is the trend.
Okay.
So they're coming east. And it's not like a weird noon kickoff time. I think it's like a 4:00 kick. So that's 1:00 body clock for them. Iowa -6 against Michigan State, and also the over in that game, 39.5. Both those numbers are good to me. Michigan State's going to turn the ball over. We know that. We know that Childs is going to turn the ball over. I know they're coming off a bye week. They probably got some stuff figured out. He's still going to turn the ball over. That's just the play. That's the type of player he is. He's going to have incredible moments, and then 10 minutes later, he's going to throw the worst interception you've ever seen. And Iowa's figured out an offense this year. They still can't throw touchdowns to wide receivers, but their running back's really good. And I don't believe in Michigan State's run defense either.
Okay.
So I will put up 40 last week on Washington, who just beat Michigan. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Iowa's offense has looked competent this year, though. UNLV, Oregon State over 59.5. UNLV's offense can put up points. Oregon State can put up points. Both those teams don't have great defenses. So 59.5 seemed kind of low to me. So I'll take that. And then TCU at Utah over 49.5. Two bad defenses. And weird things happen at night at Utah.
Yes, I agree with you. Utah, it's a crazy place to play. But what I'm going to say is, Blake, you've been on fire. People listening or people watching later, they need to start tailing your bets because you know what you're talking about, and I love it. The unfortunate thing is, once again, we're not on any of the same bets off of the game. This is crazy. So I'm going to try to whip through mine real quick. I won't go through my regular rigmarole here, but I've got the Nebraska, Indiana under 51.5. I've got Nevada +3 at home against Fresno. I think this is a game when I'm looking at it, it's a 50-50 split. It shouldn't be moving. It should have stayed where it's at. It opened around 4 o'clock. It got to about as low as 2.5. So if it shouldn't move, why is it moving towards Nevada? That's because that's where the smart money's at. Nevada +3. This next one, this is a little bit of a stinker because I kind of got kicked in the butt taking it too early. I got North Texas +11 against Memphis at Memphis. This is one of these. I'm trying harder and harder, Blake, to get away from games that have a double move, meaning there's two professional syndicates going head to head. So I don't know which one to trust. They both know what they're talking about. I like going one way. The public is looking at this game and they see Memphis. They beat FSU a couple weeks ago. People are putting money on them to make the playoffs. 58% of the money, but this line opened at 12.5, right? 58% of the money was on Memphis. It moved from 12.5 quickly to 10. I caught it at 11. However, I've seen it creep back up. I think I'm losing a little value. It's closer to 11.5. So if you want to look at this game, wait a little bit. You can get some more money. North Texas is a fun team to watch. They could do some things, but we know Memphis is good. That's a shaky one. This next one, Blake, this is one of these that I stick with the way I do things, and I have to take this game. You're going to kill me, Blake. Rice +22.5 at Tulane.
That game is so gross.
Listen to this intro to this game. The public's looking at this game, Blake. You know what they see? Tulane has the better record, the better offense, the better defense. They should kill them. But at 75% of the bets are saying that. Like Tulane all the way. But this line opened up at 24, I think. Where is it at? I'm losing it. But it opened up at 24. It's moved as low as 21. So I've got it at 22.5. The crazy thing about this is the over-unders, the total's at 52. That's for a 22.5 point spread, that's a low total. So what do I need? 17 to 20 points out of Rice. Can I get that? Maybe not. I might not be able to get it, but the line move and the money is telling me that the smart guys are taking Rice. Rice 22.5. You know what, Blake? That's going to be one. I'm going to laugh at myself as I'm watching that line.
It is creeping down. It looks like some places have it at 21.5.
You see, that's you know me. That's what I take, right? So now let's go to this LSU Arkansas game. The public is looking at recency bias. What do they see? LSU just had a huge win last week, right? So they think this 8th ranked LSU team is going to go in. It's going to cover this point spread easily. This is way too low. However, 74% of the people are on LSU. This line went from 4.5 to 3. Why is that? Because the professional bettors are taking Arkansas. I'm on Arkansas +3. And
It's
Brian
at 2.5 now.
Look, it's getting even better. So I got a little bit of it. And Brian Kelly's got to go Brian Kelly at some point.
But also, just real
Yep.
quick on that game, and the only reason why I did not touch it, because I almost did. The coach for Arkansas, Sam Pittman. You think Brian Kelly's got some doy in him? I know how much you hate bad coaches. Sam Pittman is a bad coach.
So
he's a bad coach.
This is what we're talking about. Next week, I'm going to be coming in talking about Arkansas's coach not being allergic to taking field goals and not taking points in a 3-point game. But we'll see. This is a game that defines coaches. Like I just
wanted to warn you. He's got some doy in him. Okay, and I want you to be mentally prepared for that. Okay.
The great thing about it is I won't see 1 second of this game because I will be heading into the rink in Oakville and I will be coming out as the game.
And I will have it on my television and I will be yelling at Sam Pittman for you. That's what I do.
Thank you. And you will text me what's going on because
it'll be on the third screen. Don't get me wrong, because this is
that's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
Georgia, but it'll be there.
Now, this next game, this Auburn Missouri game. This is a game that I looked at early. I got it at a good number. We don't like to give out, hey, I got it at this number when it's a little bit lower, but I ended up getting it. It moved a lot. The Auburn Missouri game. The public looks at this 19th ranked 5-1 Tiger team. They're much better. They think this is going to be an easy cover of whatever you find the spread at because it's been all over the place. 77% of the money, and 77% of the bets are on Missouri, but this line moved and opened at 7.5. So when I got to work, I saw 7.5. I started looking at it. It moved to 6.5. I fired at 6.5. I've seen it as low as 4.5. I don't know where it's at right now.
3.5, some spots.
I've got it at 6.5. I don't know. I was looking for injury. I know Missouri had some injury concerns, but I don't think they ended up like they're missing any time.
I think, okay, I would be on the same side as you on this if I had gotten to it early. I agree with. I just don't think Missouri's very good. I think that they were highly ranked and overrated before the season started, and they were hyped because they had all this returning talent and everything off of a team that had a very good year last year. I just don't think that they're very good. And I don't think Auburn's good either, but I definitely think that, especially at 6.5, no, I don't think Missouri's good. It's a battle of the Tigers too. So you get to decide who is the Tigers.
And not only that, but it's a battle of I've got two guys from my golf league that are at this game. One played, he was a wide receiver for Missouri, and another one's kid goes to Auburn. The guy from Missouri got him tickets into the President's Club and everything. So they're going to have a good time out there. However, I have to say this. Do not take that 3.5. I only have this at 6.5. I would not take this at 3.5. If this comes back up, I would not take this game at 3.5.
Are you gonna be mad at me when I take this at 3.5? Because I'm
no, I like it. You know what I'm saying? But I can't advise.
No,
it.
But like
you're on your own. You're on your own. All right, Blake, my last college pick of the game. I need you to tell me WTF. What is going on? From the moment I seen this line to the moment I took it, I don't understand this game. This is what I actually wrote. Who cares what the public sees in this gross game? Both teams stink. This is the Houston-Kansas game. Blake, I saw this line and I started laughing. Kansas is 1-5.
They're horrible.
They're favored by 8.5. I didn't understand it. So I said, wait, I got to get this wrong. I got to look at it. So I started, as I'm researching it, this time, this line started moving. So blindly, I said, this line's moving. It makes no sense to me. I grabbed Houston at plus 6.5. I don't understand this. 62% of the bets are on Kansas. Not only do I not know why, I think professional bettors are asking why. I've seen this as low as 4. I don't know what it's at now. I saw it as low as 4. I got it at 6.5. But someone's got to make sense to me. Why? When 38% of the bets, but 70% of that money is on Kansas. What's going on here that I don't get? Why is Kansas favored in this game?
This is such a bad football game. So bad.
This is the grossest of the gross bets that I can throw in there.
And we're not even talking about like a Sun Belt game. This is a Big 12 game. Houston's horrible. Houston is so bad. But Kansas has been horrible this year too. It's at 5.5 right now, by the way, depending on the
Blake, how is Kansas favored by?
No, it's what I said. What I said earlier.
Line.
They don't deserve to be favored against anybody. This should be a pick 'em, just so no one has to have any points in this game. It's horrible. It's so bad.
So I'll take the bad Houston team that we've been dogging. Probably
they're horrible.
On this show. They're horrible. We've said that I think every show.
That's a team though. The only thing you got to worry about is what we talked about earlier. Bring it all full circle. Houston might have quit. Yes. That's the thing you have to worry about with them, because I don't think Kansas has quit yet. Houston may have already quit. So that's the only worry you have to have there. Let's do these NFL games because
let's go.
Todd's gonna fight us one of these days.
We gotta get Todd the bets.
Week 7 of the NFL. It's flying by.
Oh, it's beautiful.
First game of the week, Green Bay at home against Houston. Green Bay is favored by 2.5. Over under a 47.5. This game was actually very difficult for me to pick. I think it's a great game.
Yes.
And they're two pretty evenly matched teams. And generally, Mike, you might be able to correct me on this. Generally in the NFL, home field is 2.5 points, right? 2.5, 3 points.
Well, that's what we talked about this earlier with taking those teasers with visiting teams. I think it's down to closer to 1.5.
Okay. So, but on paper, these are two very evenly matched teams.
Yes.
I am going to take the home favorite. This is one of the few home favorites I have this week. But I will roll with Green Bay minus the 2.5 against Houston.
Absolutely, Blake. You're not the only one. This is exactly what I wrote down, and I did not know what you were going to say. The public sees two evenly matched teams. I stayed away from this game because not only do I see evenly matched teams, you see evenly matched teams, the public sees evenly matched teams, the professionals see the same thing. These guys have been going back and forth over who's going to win this game and where they're going to put the rest. With that 50-50 split between the public and the professionals, this line kind of remains steady. It has moved a little bit slightly from 2.5 to 3. It's inching towards and juiced towards Green Bay. That's the only reason I'm going Green Bay at home too.
Yeah. Next game, Detroit at Minnesota. This is a huge game. Like I said, the NFL slate is really good this week. Obviously, Detroit coming off the huge win against Dallas. Minnesota's still undefeated. Coming off of a bye week. They are favored by 1.5 at home, over under a 50.5. Mike, you go ahead and start with this one.
All right. I always look at what the public's looking at. The public's looking at this in exactly what you just said. They see what the Lions did last week. They think the Lions are the best team, not only in the NFC, but in the NFL. And they actually think that they should be favored in this game. So they are lining up at 70%. 70% of the bets are on the Lions. There's no respect for Minnesota and their undefeated record. However, despite 70% of those bets, this line opened at Minnesota -1, and it's moved as high as Minnesota -2.5. I'm going with that move. I'm taking Minnesota minus the points. I think it's the books that are saying, we're taking the stand. We're taking the side. We like Minnesota no matter how much money's coming down Detroit. Now, I caution those that are listening saying, hey, maybe I should take Minnesota. I think a lot of this is the uncertainty of how good is Minnesota's offense going to be without Hutchinson? And how good is Detroit's defense going to be? We don't know. And that gets even to, if we want to sit here and talk about what should Detroit do, I don't think they're going to they didn't make a move because they got to see, what do we have right now?
Yeah.
Can we go out here and stop this 5-0 Minnesota team with what we have? We don't have to make a big change. Unfortunately, Minnesota might come out and just jail sex them. Minnesota's offense has been all right. People don't like, if you like Sam Darnold, you think he's doing good. If you don't like Sam Darnold, you think he's going to fall off the face of the earth at any second now. We're going to see a lot this week. We're going to see, does Detroit have to go and get like a Crosby or a Reddick or somebody like that? Or are they going to be all right? And is Minnesota for real? I'm leaning towards Minnesota -1.5. I don't have it in my account, but that's just where I'm looking.
I have the same exact thoughts. Literally, I'm not down on this Minnesota team. If anything, I'm up on this Minnesota team, especially coming off of a bye. Detroit, obviously, I just think this is a weird spot for them too, and everything with the injuries, everything. The thing that I was critical on in the offseason when I was talking about this with Sean was the lack of pass rush.
Yep.
And I was not, and I was proven wrong about Hutch so far this year, but I was not a huge Hutch guy going into the season. Now you lose him. Where are you going to generate pass rush from? You're going to have to blitz. I understand that the secondary's been better. I don't trust the secondary still when you're going to leave them out on islands.
Yeah.
And your best corner might not be playing. Davis says I think it's a hamstring injury.
Yep.
And they have Justin Jefferson. I don't know if you knew that. He's the best receiver in football probably right now.
Yeah, he's kind of good. He's kind of good.
So no, and this is not me being a hater. I just think this is a difficult spot for Detroit this week. I still think very, very highly of Detroit. That offense is incredible. I would lean over in this game too, but the pick that I'm most confident in, I'm trying to be disciplined. Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed this. I only had one double in the college slate. I only got I have none in the NFL. I'm staying disciplined. I'm taking the favorite. Give me Minnesota -1.5. Next game. Kansas City at San Fran. San Fran is favored by 1.5 points. The over-under is 47.5. My explanation for this game is very simple, Mike. Very simple.
Yes.
You don't bet against Patrick Mahomes, especially as a dog.
Yep.
Give me Patrick Mahomes. Give me the Chiefs. Coming off of a bye, I think. And, oh, man, I meant to look this up before the show. I'm so angry at myself. Andy Reid off of a bye is incredible.
Oh, yes, he is. You're 100%. He's got a huge record.
I think correct. So, all of that being said, Kansas City. This is my favorite play of the week. I'm not even kidding. I love Kansas City in this game. It's gonna be horrible.
Okay. This is one. It's not in my account, but it gets into one of the trends that I had said. But if we go back, it's funny. We go back a week. If you remember, Kansas City was not the public favorite. You know, they were, was it 2 weeks ago because they were on the bye, but 2 weeks ago they were not. And my exact quote was, "This is one of the few times you're going to see that I'm going to take Kansas City because they're not the public favorite. They were actually on the other side." However, now the public off the bye week, they know that Mahomes is 13-0 against the spread on the road in neutral games. They're loving him. Patrick Mahomes is easily going to cover. Not only are they going to cover this, they think that they should be favored. They're running to bet this at 64% of the bets are on Kansas City. San Francisco, however, was the dog when this started. They were getting a point when this started a week ago. They are now favored. You hear this every week. I'm not shying off. I stick to it whether I win or I lose. Dog to fave, one-way movement. I'm going San Francisco -1.5 at home.
I hate it. I know what you're saying. I understand all of your reasons. I just hate it.
But the only reason you need is Patrick Mahomes, though. I mean, come on, the guy he's special.
He's final. He's everything. Yeah. He's incredible. Next game. This is a game. This is a team that we've talked more about the Pittsburgh Steelers on this damn show than we ever should be.
Look,
and
we've talked
here
more
they are
about them in personal text messages than we ever should.
Oh, Pittsburgh is getting 2 points at home against the Jets, whatever dumpster fire they have going on over there this week. The over-under is 38.5, which that is a very weird over-under. Don't you think? That number is weird.
Man,
don't you think that's kind of low?
You've got Pittsburgh that's going to score about 13 points. The Jets, I don't.
The Jets haven't scored all year.
Yeah, but hey, Devontae Adams has gone to New York where hamstrings heal. So I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen here?
Mike, you go ahead. You start with this one.
All right. So
why is this a prime time game?
Yeah, you know exactly where this is going because I sent you a text and I was like, are you kidding me? Devontae Adams gets traded and all of a sudden he's worth 3 points to where it's 2.5. So I grabbed Pittsburgh at 2.5. You know where I'm going with this. The public watches what happens, right? They watch the news. They watch SportsCenter. They see that Aaron Rodgers gets his way. Devontae Adams gets traded to New York where hamstrings heal. However, I don't need any numbers. I don't care how many people are betting on the Jets. I don't care how many people are betting on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've got Tomlin. Tomlin is 74% against the spread as a home dog. I'm taking Pittsburgh. I said it, what was it, 3-4 days ago when that trade happened? The only thing, I shot myself in the foot. I said the only thing that could blow this up is if for some reason they start Russell Wilson. And right now it looks like they're going to start Russell Wilson. So I'm afraid I'm not backing off this bet. I've got it in my account and I'm not backing off this bet. However, it's scary with Russell Wilson. I hope it's gamesmanship.
Hey, Russell Wilson can't ruin Tomlin numbers. Tomlin numbers are too good to be ruined by Russell Wilson's broke ass. It doesn't matter.
Blake, this is what I'm going to say. I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan. Russell Wilson has won me a ton of money in Seattle in his early years. So I bet him a ton last year in Denver. He can ruin a lot of things. He could take Mike Tomlin and he can make him have an under 500 record. You just watch.
He's really bad. No, Tomlin doesn't go under 500. That's not even allowed. He'd get fired. I'm with you though. Tomlin numbers are undefeated. Pittsburgh all day. Plus the 2. I hope it gets up to 3. I don't think it's going to happen, but I really would like it to. Last game.
Yep.
We had 2 Monday night games to pick from. I thought that this was the more intriguing one. Baltimore at Tampa. Baltimore is favored by 3.5. The over-under is 49.5. I am going to take Tampa plus the 3.5. I honestly, if I'm just being frank with you, I don't have a whole lot of reasons. Baltimore always has one of these letdowns. And I know that they kind of got those out of the way early in the season. And Tampa's been kind of on and off this year. It's a feel thing for me. I don't really have a whole lot of reasons. Okay. I'm sure your numbers probably back me up on this.
Yes, they do, Blake. Tampa. And we are going to be. I mean, we are 4 out of 5 on the same side, and that's actually scary because I don't think that has happened all year as I watch. There goes Purdue. But so yeah, I'm going to be on Tampa in this game. The public is looking at this, and they're going to see Derrick Henry, the leading rusher, come in. You got the reigning MVP Lamar Jackson coming in. I'm going to be honest. I think the public thinks that they should be favored because they're coming in at a clip of 63% of the bets are on the Ravens. However, this line opened at 4.5 and it's moved to 3.5. towards Tampa. It's never moved in the Ravens' way. This is in my account because this is a typical Mike bet. The line has moved my way. The money's going my way. The professionals are going my way. And that line has never moved back. I'm on Tampa Bay. And I agree with you. Baltimore always has these moments. This year more than before. They just are a fourth quarter team that doesn't look well. This could just be one of these backdoor 3.5. Like you're going to come in, they're going to lose by a little bit. We're going to win by this hook or something. But I don't like the way Baltimore's playing. I don't know if they're stale. I'm on Tampa Bay. I like what Baker Mayfield's doing. I like what's happening down in Tampa.
You think anybody has more buyer's remorse than the Cleveland Browns? They gave up Baker, who is an absolute dog, like would die for a team for Deshaun Watson.
The funny thing is, though, I think Cleveland created that by what they did to him, by drafting him and getting rid of him. But here's even funnier. If you were to set down the people that signed Deshaun Watson in Cleveland and ask them, they would look you right in the face and dead honest tell you Deshaun Watson is our quarterback, and we would take him over Baker Mayfield. There's nothing makes sense. You have a two-time coach of the year telling you that he gives them the best chance to win. You got Amari Cooper who basically said, "Get me the F out of here." This is a team that is like, I wouldn't be surprised if they lose by 20 points every game the rest of the year. This is that team morale I was talking about in the beginning of the year. But
hey,
yes, they have to be.
Real quick, while you're talking about that, I'll just throw this pick out there because it was in there. I had it written down. It's one that I will definitely be picking. Bengals -5.5 at Browns. Easy. Joe Burrow. An offense will score no matter what. I don't care who's on that defense. And Deshaun Watson. He's a piece of shit kind of guy.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
And that's a road favorite, but still, I don't care. I can't.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't.
You want me to fire through mine real quick?
Fire through your NFL.
Patriots, Jags, the under. Give me the under in that game. 42. Both those teams stink. The Jags should have fired their coach while he was in London. That would have been great.
If they lose this game, I think he's staying in London.
Well, he has like 10 kids, so he has to come home.
Well, yeah, he's going to have to fly economy on Delta to get back, is what I'm saying. He ain't on the team flying.
Seahawks, Falcons, over 50.5. I like the over in that game.
All right, we were close. I thought we were going to be on the same side there.
I already said Bengals, Browns.
Yeah.
Bills -8.5 against the Titans. I know that's a big spread. I think the Titans are really bad. And
Billy Blue Jeans, baby.
I'm actually very excited for Amari Cooper in this offense. Like I think I think he's gonna help a lot of things.
I hope he really opens up the room for Coleman.
No, but that's legit. Like,
yeah, it's legit. That bet is dead, but that is going to help him out.
Yes, 100%. Because now they have an actual receiver to cover that's not a rookie and not Shakur, who's like that slot kind of speed guy. Rams -6.5 against the Raiders. The Raiders are horrible. The Raiders are dead. You talked about quit watch. I think the Raiders might be quitting as we speak on that coach. Dude. They're horrible, and the Rams are coming off of a bye. Matthew Stafford, I know their record. He's still very good. So, and then my last one, Chargers -1.5 at Arizona. I'm done with Arizona.
I love it. We're actually on some of the same games. We're not opposite sides. We're on some of the same games. So I've also got to say that I've continued my streak of hitting my first bet of the week. I had the Broncos last night, and that was a dud of a game. But I had that.
I turned it off. I turned on who was Virginia Tech played.
Virginia Tech was they played someone that I was good. Yes, I was going to take BC, but the line again, that double line move. I'm like, and I saw that 21-0 real quick. I was out of there.
But then they came back, and then they still lost by 21.
Yes,
they brought it to within like a touchdown. It was crazy.
Yeah, so you know where I was. Night. I was out. That look. If Bo Nix was even an average quarterback, Denver would be dangerous.
He's so bad. I hate Bo. We've talked about this. I hate Bo.
I'm starting to hate him. Like, and I've got
Did you see the pass? Did you see the incompletion perfectly between two wide receivers? Like he could.
If he hits either of them, it's a touchdown. It's a touchdown to either of them, Blake. That's what I'm saying. It was 3-0 at the end of one. It should have been 21-0 if the guy could throw a pass.
He stinks.
I've got two futures that I just Bo. Come on, Bo. Just throw a pass. But anyways, we got to get Todd to bed here. So we've talked about Pittsburgh. I got Pittsburgh plus 2.5, Tampa Bay plus 3.5. I'm going to go to probably one of the worst looking games in the NFL, the Colts and the Dolphins. Why, Mike? Why? You know why? Because they're telling me Snoop Huntley is looking good in the bye week, baby. So we're going for this. The public sees a struggling Colts team, a Dolphins team that has scored, Blake, they've scored 25 points in the last 3 games combined. So you know where I'm going with this, right? I'm going over 41.5 in this game.
No.
55% of the bets, 55% of the bets are on the under, but yet this line has moved from 41 to 44. I got it at 41.5. This game's going over. Richardson's going to be throwing bombs.
Okay,
Huntley's going to be running.
Is he playing?
Yes.
Why? Flacco's better.
100%. That even makes my bet.
Maybe he'll get hurt again.
And they also just said that, and Taylor is out too. So I'm loving that bet over 41.5. I don't know why.
I'm loving that bet. All of their better quarterbacks benched and their running backs out. Got it.
Seriously. So why is that line moving up? That's why I've got to take it. All right. The Titans and the Bills are playing. You got the Bills. I got under 42.5. The public's looking at this. They see what the Bills have done the last couple, 34, 31, 47, and 35 points in 4 of the last 5 weeks. Plus, you just added Amari Cooper. They're thinking that they probably could score 42 points themselves against the Bills. However, 57% of the bets are on that over. That line has moved under 43 to 41. That's an auto bet for me. One-way movement. Titans, Bills under 42.5. We'll go to the Raiders and the Rams. You said the Raiders are quitting. I think the Rams are going to be injured. Is Cooper Kupp going to play? Who knows? The public see the Raiders have given up 34, 32 in their last 2 weeks. The Rams are coming off a bye. McVay off a bye. Who knows what's going to happen if they're healthy or not. 60% of these bets are on the over, but this line has never budged. Like it's been at 43.5 for a week. It hasn't moved. I don't know what you're seeing. Up to this morning when I was looking at it was 43.5. It should never stay at 43.5. Smart money's keeping it there. I've got the under. That it should be moving up, but it's sitting there at 43.5. So you know I'm going to take it.
43.5, yeah.
And I've got it under 43.5. You've got the Seahawks and the Falcons. Did you say you got the under or the over?
Over.
You got the over. I got the Seahawks plus 3. The public loves recency bias. They're looking and they see what just happened. The Falcons had an easy win and the Seahawks got their butts kicked at home. By the way, what happened to the 12th man? Like Seattle does not have that home field advantage anymore. Anyways, 71% of the bets are on the Falcons, but this is another one. This line opened at 3 and it has stayed at 3. I've got it at 3. I'm taking the Seahawks plus 3.
That's it.
And that is it. And I'm hoping I end up better than I did last week. But you know what? I'll be back next week, even if it isn't.
No, we're gonna crush this week. I have a good feeling about this week. I took a lot of singles. I'm not hitting for doubles. I'm not hitting for power this week. I'm just trying to get on base. That's all I'm trying to do.
So last week, I had a feeling, like I just didn't have a good feeling going into it, and then my closing line value wasn't. It was probably the worst I've had all year. Though these lines moved back against me, and it happens. If you're going to take these lines before Saturday and before Sunday, like I said, it's the gamble within the gamble, and I lost a lot of closing line value. I felt this is about the best I felt. Like when I was running these numbers, I felt like I knew I did bad last week. I was going to be a little bit more solid this week. I've got a lot of single line movement right now. When the public comes in heavy on Saturday and Sunday, who knows? But I think these lines are kind of set where they're at. I'm really liking where I'm at. We'll see. When you like
it's even like I sent the games to you and Todd 2 nights ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, like even in college and NFL, there wasn't a whole lot that, like, I think there was 2 college games, 1 or 2 NFL games that the line moved. Like there wasn't a lot of movement before tonight. So that just goes back to what you were saying. Like these lines seem pretty set, and the numbers that you run and everything you do really helps with that, and especially because stuff's going to move a little bit on Saturday and Sunday. Like
once the big money starts coming in, and on game day as we start getting closer, as we talked about, was it last week or 2 weeks, they up the limits so the big guys can bring big money, so it's going to move a little bit. However, I try to stay steady with early money, early line movements. I don't know why. Oh, I do know why, because it's done me good. Like when I see something move early, those are the guys I trust, and I go with it. We'll see where these lines go, but again, as we get closer and closer to the end of the NCAA and the NFL season, everyone's got the same data, right?
Yeah.
The same numbers, and it all gets crunched into these tighter and tighter lines. And hey, know what it makes? A bigger sweat. That's it.
And I love a good sweat. It's
gonna be great. I do hate that I'm not gonna be able to watch Saturday, so I'm gonna be trusting your text messages, but I will be home by noon on Sunday to watch them and sweat on my deck with them. But I can't wait to see how we end up.
I might miss a couple of the early games. I got some yard work I have to attend to. At 3:00 on, I plan on being locked in.
Hey, if you're doing some yard work, can you do me a favor and blow some leaves on your neighbor's lawn?
Yeah, I can take care of that. I gotta blow them out of the gutter. We don't need to get into this. Actually, I was gonna talk about it. Todd, I'm sorry. All right, we'll get out of here. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. If check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube, all that good stuff. Check out everything that Sean's got going on. I know what the puck, the high school stuff is kind of wrapping up that you're involved with, Mike, but you guys do a great job all throughout hockey season of covering all levels of hockey. I can tell you that much from a firsthand account. There's what you guys do covering all the way from the NHL to, well, I'm sure there will be some juniors coverage in there now this year.
I think so. Hey, we're gonna have some good
and then the high school and college, everything. You guys do a great job. Check out Shep and Sean and everything they got going on. Check out Off the Air, all that good stuff. Check it all out. Subscribe, do all the fun stuff. And we'll be back next week. Mike, in a couple weeks, we might be able to move up this show time. Just keep that in the back of your mind.
I like it.
I'll be going on it.
You know my sleep schedule, so I'm liking it. I dig it, and I'm very happy for you. And hopefully we can do that. But hopefully we come back next week and we're a little bit richer, and so are the people listening.
Exactly. And that's about it. Thanks for everyone for watching and listening. We out.
You've been listening to Off the Board. Tune in all throughout the football season for weekly picks and insights. Subscribe to Unsyndicated and Off the Board on all your favorite social media and podcast platforms.